So can Lecrae's song Blessings featuring Ty Dolla Sign even be considered as a Christian song? Let's get into it.
Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Put my hands on the Bible, y'all point me to the booth. Swear to tell the truth.
What's going on, people? It's your boy, Young Patriarch. Welcome to the channel. Hit that like, share, comment, subscribe. The merch link is down there in the description box. If you all would love to support, we sure do all. Thank you all for the support. Without further ado, let's get into it though. So Caleb Gordon, shout out to the young homie, big homie. You know, he posed a real good question on Instagram. I really think it opened up some good dialogue just amongst the Christian community, but more specifically the rappers, you know. But I think it's a very good thing to talk about, especially with things that are persisting today. You know, what we see in the world, things that we see in the world today, that's taking place. A lot of mixing and mingling, and you know, things going on to where it's kind of hard to tell between the real, you know, the real and the fake. And it can be very, it can be very misleading to babes in the faith, and even steer them away, and have some type of kind of deception in that, in that regard. I think that But I think when we answer this, I think when we answer the question, or when we look at it, I think there's a couple of things that we have to take into perspective, when answering the question. So first and foremost, looking at it from the perspective of the church, what people have to, what people have to understand is that we are the church. The church isn't a building. We are the church, and wherever believers are gathered at, that's where the church is. So if we're outside, that's what the church is. If we're in the gymnasium, that's what the church is. If we're in the auditorium, that's what the church is. If we're in Walmart, that's where, that's where the church is. Even individually, wherever we go, that's where the church is. And our actions, how we move, things that we say, what we do, this is our pulpit. This is our pulpit, and this is our platform. And the important thing about our platform is that this is something that's been, especially when we have influence, this is something that's been given to us by God, and we should steward it accordingly. We should steward it according to the word of God. But what would be the main reason for a platform, when you have influence? Of course, to influence people. So you get followers, you get people that come along and they listen, people that come along and they listen to you, and they, and they support you because they see this, because they're called to you. And so we have to, those are one of those things when, like, examining this question and actually, again, looking at it from the church's perspective, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, okay, why am I doing this? Or why is a person doing this? It's just like if a secular artist, let's say R. Kelly, for instance, we all know what he be on and what he about. Not me judging the man or whatever, but just me telling the truth. Everybody know. And now I'm not talking about the situation. Now I'm just talking about his music. But he were to walk into a church in the building, and the pastor would give him the mic. The pastor or the shepherd, whoever who has that platform, would give him the mic, and he would sing, talk, or do whatever. We really have to look at that and ask why, let's just say he's coming up there to sing a song. Oftentimes, when that's taking place and when that's happening, is because the pastor, the leader of their church, is looking to get his name out there, or get his church out there, or build stronger connections. And the problem with that is it's almost it's prostituting the glory, because it's kind of like shortcutting the process in which God has called for you to go through, and so, like, when you're doing that, it's oftentimes in the means of promoting self, because oftentimes we as Christians take on the worldview that, oh well, if he made a song with this secular artist, or if they're moving in this way, to where they know them, where they got connections with them, where they can kind of hit them up whenever they super cool, then they're plugged in. But the truth is that we have to be honest to say that these secular artists have nothing to provide, have nothing to offer us when it comes to sound doctrine, or when it comes to the church. And when it comes to the church, and it doesn't matter on what platform, because again, I said that we are the church. We are the church, and our platforms, our lives, are our pulpits, and how we present them does make all the difference. It may not be so much with us individually, because we've probably grown to a state, and we probably grown to an area to where that doesn't have much effect. But we have to be mindful of those that follow. And the thing with that is, oftentimes we forget those that follow. When I became a Christian, which was about 8 or 9 years ago, possibly 10, when I became a Christian, Lecrae was somebody for me that I clung to. Like, he helped me, and that's why I will always give him. I always show love. I've always give him shout outs. I pray for him in situations and things, things of what he go through. But man, like, he was always in my ear. His music was always in my ear. Anytime that he dropped, I was always looking to make sure that I got the album, make sure I'm bumping it, mixtape album, whatever it was, for the simple fact that to me, he was a big brother. To me, he was somebody I looked up to, and his experience, his life, just the way that he carried himself was what I could relate to. And so, like, a lot of things that he said, I took that and made that a part of me. And I think oftentimes that we tend to forget that the people that's following us, they're going to do that because they're babes in the faith. Just like an actual baby, they're going to image whatever they see their father or their mother do, whether it's good or whether it's bad. So over time, for me, as I begin to grow, I begin to see him kind of link up with other artists. And for me, it would kind of there would be a red flag pop up, but yet and still I would still listen, I would still listen to it. But the truth is that there has been a compromise. And I'm not necessarily saying with him, but what I am saying is that if you can link with other artists who aren't speaking the word of God, who aren't secular artists, who aren't speaking the word of God, who just got through talking about, you know, killing, stealing, you know, disrespecting women, whatever the case might be. But then, you know, you allow them on a song. You allow them on a song with you as a Christian artist. You are sending mixed signals out, and this does trip up the babies, especially those who cling, you know, those who cling hard to you. I remember when Blessings first came out, I had a homie come up to me, who's not saved, and he asked me why would he said, man, I heard Craig's song Blessings. He said it's bumping, bro. I really like it. But he said, why would he make the song with Ty Dolla $ign? He said Ty Dolla $ign is very disrespectful. He said he's very, and he reiterated again. He said very disrespectful to women. Now, what was funny to me that he even said that was that I'm known for him to be disrespectful to women, you know. And so when he said that, for him to say that about somebody else, I was just like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? You know, like, dude just got to be very disrespectful, because I know I've heard him to be very disrespectful, you know, to women, before. And so the thing was, in that was a mixed signal. That was sent, and that a person didn't get, or a person didn't understand. And oftentimes now you think people, oftentimes you see people who are just kind of like, okay, well, you know, this person or this leader approves of what this person does, or, you know, they approve of this lifestyle because, shoot, they had him on a song with them. And so there's really nothing wrong with it. And again, like, we teach people to look to Christ. Like, we're not the final say. So that's why we should tell people, look, get into the word for yourselves, study the word for yourselves. But we will be lying to ourselves to sit up here and act like that we don't have influence over people, and that people don't follow us, that people don't cling to us, that people need milk, like that they're literally babies in the faith, and they need milk, and they feed off of us. And so when the homie said that, like, that was just one of, when Caleb Gordon said that, again, I just think it was just one of those things that the door really has to be open to. Because again, I know that our mindsets as Christians, and I used to think this way too, was that, man, if he jumping on a song with him, or she jumping on a song with this artist, whatever the case might be, then they getting it, they doing it. But that's not even the case. A lot of times that's just for personal gain, or it's for business. You know, we could say that. But that's a scary place to be, because this isn't about business. You know what I'm saying? This is about souls. This is literally about saving souls. And so a lot of music has turned into more of just like sound good, and was bumping, and trying to reach the lost, instead of still sounding good, original, bumping, but having that but having that substance with it. Because the truth is, and this just being real, the world doesn't care to hear about the gospel. And so if they can change us as much as they can, they will. And so it's up to us to have boundaries, to know, like, okay, what lines I will, and what lines I will and I won't cross, for my own personal sake, but also for those that follow, but that's my opinion on it. If you feel if you feel differently, comment. You know what I'm saying? I'm very open to very open to conversation. This is not one of those judgmental, type of things. Again, it's just one of those things that where I've grown, I've seen that it's important. It's important to watch. It's important to watch who you introduce, watch who you introduce to people. You know what I'm saying? And introduce my children to anybody that I know would be unhealthy for them. And so in the same way, I think that, just us as Christians, we have to be mindful of that as well.
Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Put my hands on the Bible, y'all point me to the booth.